Hi everybody, I'm Miss Alicia and I am batty about books. That's true every day, but it's especially true today because today I'm going to tell you all about some of my favorite bat books. We're going to start with fiction, which is made up stories about bats. And the first one that I want to tell you about today is a picture book called 5 Little Bats Flying in the Night. And this is a really big book. It's for story time. So the one that you find will probably be regular sized. But this is a really fun book. It's based on 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. You probably know that one. You know, 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off and bumped his head. Mama called the doctor and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed." But in that story about the monkeys are doing something naughty that they shouldn't be doing, right? Something dangerous. And in this story, the bats aren't doing anything naughty, but it is a little bit dangerous, a little bit risky. They are learning how to fly. And the message behind the story is really cool. It's that sometimes you need to take chances to grow and to learn. So I love this one, and it's got a really fun rhyme in it and cute pictures too. Speaking of cute pictures, we have our next picture book, which is one of my favorites. It's called Night Animals. And you can tell just by the picture that it's going to be a spooky story, but also a very silly story. This possum looks very, very worried. And so the story Night Animals has a bunch of different animals in it. It's got, you can see a bear and a wolf, and a skunk, pee-hoo, a possum, and of course, a bat. And all of these animals are scared of night animals, which is pretty silly because if you think about it, all of these animals have something in common. Do you know what it is? So that's Night Animals. It's by Gianna Marino. And the next story I have for you is an Elephant and Piggy one. Dun, 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 dun. Elephant and Piggy are my favorite. But Elephant's not on the cover of this one. He is inside. Instead, it's Piggy and a bat. And the bat is named Brian, which I think is a very silly name for an animal. I like when animals have people names. This one's called My New Friend Is So Fun. And if you've never read an Elephant and Piggy book before, I suggest you go out and get all of them because they're some of my favorite books in the whole entire library. They're very funny and they have sort of cartoon bubbles above their heads, which is cool, and very few words, which makes it good for readers who are just starting out. And the last story that I have for you about bats, the last fiction story, is called Megabat, and it's a beginning chapter book by Anna Humphreys. And I'm going to read you a little bit from this book called Megabat. Here we go. It says here that fruit bats live in colonies with subgroups of 8 or 9 bats, like families, Daniel said. That explained why Bat had been so lonely up in the attic. "Undoubtedly," Bat said, not taking his eyes off the TV. "And sometimes fruit bats are called flying foxes or megabats." Megabat, Daniel smiled. It was a powerful name for such a tiny creature. "It's almost like a superhero name," he said. "A superhero name," Bat repeated. "Like a good guy name," Daniel explained. "Luke Skywalker is kind of like a superhero because he fights the bad guy Darth Vader." At that, Bat's ears perked up. "A Megabat is like Luke Skywalker?" he asked. "I don't know," Daniel laughed. "Do you have a lightsaber?" Bat glanced down. His tongue flicked in and out of his mouth in excitement. Using the claws on his wingtips, he pulled the bendy straw out of his drink box and poked Daniel's arm with it. So this here is an illustration. There are some illustrations in this chapter book of Megabat with his bendy straw lightsaber. And this one's cool because it's about bats, but it's also about Star Wars. And it's also about two characters who are in a new place. Daniel has just moved to a new home, and Bat accidentally ended up in the United States inside of a fruit box. And they're a little lonely, but they become friends, and they meet some other friends too. So it's a nice story about friendship. It's called Megabat, and if you like it, there are sequels like Megabat and Fancy Cat. And they're all very cute and very funny and illustrated. All right, so now I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite nonfiction bat books, which are informational or fact books about bats. And I'm not going to talk a lot about them because they all just have bat facts in them, but they do it in different ways and at different levels. So this first one is more of a picture book, nonfiction book, informational book. It's got a lot of illustrations. It won an award. And it's called Hello Bumblebee Bat. And it's about a bumblebee bat, which is the smallest bat and the smallest mammal in the whole entire world. It's a bat that's the size of just a little bumblebee. You can hold it right on your finger. And it's got, I'll show you, very few words per page. This is actually one that has more words. Very few words per page. And you can learn in a really easy and accessible way about bats. So that's Hello Bumblebee Bat. We have a beginning reader. This one's called All About Bats. It's by Caryn Jenner. And these are going to be in a list that you can find underneath the video too, so you can click them and put them on hold. This is all about bats, and it's got real pictures of bats instead of illustrations, and bat facts too. My favorite nonfiction book about bats is called The Bat Book, and it's by Charlotte Milner. And I just love the way that this one is laid out. Here, I'll show you some. So this page has some facts about places that bats like to hang out, hang upside down, literally, places that they like to spend time. And my favorite part is this part here. These little white bats are real. They're so cute you think they might not be real, but they are. These little white bats are real, and what they do is they hang out on the underside of leaves, and they bend the leaves down around them so that it creates a tent. So they make leaf forts. They make secret forts out of leaves, which if I was a bat, I would totally want to do that. And the illustrations are beautiful. Let's see if I can show you one of my favorite pages. It has really beautiful fruit on it. Oh, here we go. So there's some fruits that you might recognize, like the banana. Some bats like to eat fruits. And some fruit that you might not recognize, like a fig and a papaya. And this spiky one here is a really smelly fruit called a durian fruit. They smell worse than skunks, PU, but bats really like to eat them, and some people eat them too. So this is a cool book. It's got lots of bat facts, and you can read little pieces and take a break and start again and read some more pieces. And I just really love it. This is The Bat Book by Charlotte Milner. And once you learn all of these cool facts about bats and why they're actually not scary and they're really good for the world, you know, bats, they eat mosquitoes so that you don't get itchy. And they pollinate flowers so that we have beautiful night blooming flowers in the world. And they eat fruit and they poop out the seeds so that more and more fruit can grow. Once you learn all those cool facts about bats, you can read A Place for Bats. And this one is about Melissa Stewart. And again, it's not that complicated inside. It has, you can just read the top if you want, which has fewer words and tells you lots of good information. Or you can also read the blurbs too, give you even more details and more facts. But this book tells you about how to protect bats so that they can keep doing cool things for the world and they won't become endangered or extinct like some of them are now. So that's A Place for Bats. And then just for fun, one more. This one is called What Makes a Monster? And even though we know that bats aren't scary, there is a bat that sounds scary. It's called a vampire bat, and the vampire bat is in What Makes a Monster, along with a type of fungus, a mushroom that acts like a zombie, and an ant that piles bodies up on top of its body to make itself bigger, and my favorite, the goblin shark. It has this really long nose and it lives deep down dark in the ocean. But this is What Makes a Monster. It's got lots of creatures you might not have heard about before, and it's fun to read. This one's by Jess Keating. So those are all of my favorite bat books that make me batty about books, and I hope they'll make you batty about books too. You can see the links again underneath this video so that you can click on them and request them and read them at home. I hope you have fun. Bye.